Oak's words echoed. There's a time and place for everything, but not now. Wait, are we back? We're so back. I still remember that moment in February of last year when we tuned in the Pokémon Presents, expecting nothing but Unova or Johto ILCA remakes at most. But instead, they positively surprised us word after word. Not only it was a new Legends game, something most people wanted, but set in Kalos? And finally a Z version? The Mega Evolution symbol showing up after that was the cherry on top. After more than 10 years. Yes, you heard that correctly. We're finally getting new Megas and going back to that format? Crazy. The beloved and popular mechanic is back. Hopefully, it's also here to stay. They aren't going to remove them again in the next game, are they? Anyway, that is a problem for our future selves. Let's enjoy the moment. After that Pokémon Day, however, followed a long year of drought. No news whatsoever. Maybe it was because of delays, or maybe it was because of the Switch 2 imminent release. Or both. We were left with nothing but Pocket TCG, which actually is a surprisingly fun game until now. But it's finally time. The wait is basically over. This year, 2025, we're 99.999% getting new Megas. But which new Pokémon could serve as candidates for a new form? This is the topic of this video. We're going to try to come up with species that deserve a glow-up and design them a theoretical megaform. Welcome to Ironically Bundled. Get yourself a drink and enjoy. Just remember this is simply for fun and an exercise in creativity. Okay, so let's start with the most deserving Pokémon that should get a new form, Charizard. No, I'm joking, calm down. There are over 1,000 Pokémon, so where do we start? Let's see. If we take a look at how the previous Pokémon who got a Mega got picked, there's no defining factor. I mean, Mons like Mewtwo and Charizard got 2 Megas each. They were already strong enough, so popularity is one option. Other Mons like Beedrill were instead the opposite, quite weak and unpopular. And others were simply mid. Not strong enough to be in competitive VGC, but not weak either. The only 2 games we got new waves of Megas in were X and Y and Auras. So Pokémon from Gen 6 and below got lots of forms. While of course none went to the then non-existent Gen 7 and onwards. I think it's a good idea to start there. For Alola, I picked Toucanon as a good candidate. It's unique, but could get a boost in power and rival the other Mega Bird we have, Pidgeot. When designing new Megas, we need to take into considerations the lore and identity of the Pokémon, and simply give it an aggressive, exaggerated spin. Toucanon is a normal flying final stage bird with keen eye, skill link, or sheer force. The beak is its main defining point, which contains gases that can ignite and shoot seeds with enough force to shatter boulders. Its temperature is extremely high and can burn stuff on contact. It also has a signature physical flying move, Beak Blast, which charges for 1 turn, burning Pokémon who make contact and then hits the next turn. Additionally, it learns some good fire type moves too. As you can see, this Pokémon is closely connected to the fire type, so first of all I'd say we replace one of its 2 types with it. Its signature move is flying type, so to stay consistent, we remove the normal type and rebrand it as a fire flying. As for its ability, we can either keep Skill Link and give it a new Fire-type multi-strike move, or give it Solar Power instead, which in Sunlight increases its special attack by 1.5x but loses HP every turn. This allows Toucanon to be ran as either physical or special in an equally interesting way, since it also learns great special moves such as Heat Wave. I know some of you may be turned off by mixed attackers, but I believe this one would truly shine. For the actual design, I believe we can exaggerate its beak and make it huge, bigger than its body. This also fits the alleged theme of Megas, sometimes causing suffering to the Pokémon itself. It can use its beak as a shield too. Stats-wise, Mega Evolutions always give a plus 100 BST boost, except Alakazam for some reason, which got 90 instead. Also, stats are allowed to be reshuffled, although in a reasonable manner. These are Toucanon's base stats. Here's what we can do. Since it is now a bulkier and heavier Mon, we can take out 30 speed, so now it's slow enough to be ran in Trick Room. So we have a plus 130 boost to give. We can give it plus 25 in each defense and special defense. Then 45 to its special attack, so it matches its base form's attack. And then the remaining 35 to its attack, so it's still slightly higher. Both of its attack stats aren't as high as some other specialized min-max megas, but it can be used effectively in different ways. There we go. Our first mega design is done. I'm pleased with how it turned out. Let's turn to Gen 8 and Galar now. Which Pokemon could we improve? Oh, I know one. Double. Wooloo was, and still is, a very popular Pokemon, understandably so. And even if Double isn't the worst in terms of battles, it's not the best either by any means. In my opinion, Double could actually use another real evolution, but for the sake of this video, let's ideate a mega for it. After all, other Pokemon which could have used a normal Evo actually got a mega instead, like Audino, or even Mawile. Double is a normal type sheep or goat Pokemon with fluffy, steadfast, and bulletproof as abilities. It's very clearly inspired by a football, yes, not soccer, ball. The defining stat for this Pokemon is defense. Its Pokédex entry says that its horns are mostly used for attracting the opposite gender rather than fighting. Wooloo's Dex entry says its wool can grow so much that it's unable to move. We can go in two opposite directions with the design of this mega. On one side, we could make it more of a ball of fluff than it is, or instead leverage the fact that megas are sort of unnatural and oftentimes aggressive/negative evos. I like the latter, sounds fun. Double is based on the Jacob sheep, which has 4 horns. As mentioned, it normally uses them for attracting mates rather than fighting. But in our mega design, it loses all of its wool. Its horns become bigger, and maybe even gains some. It becomes more agile and focused on battles. I think you understand where we're going with this one. It's going to be extremely min-maxed, lol. Its type is going to change from pure normal to pure fighting. It learns some fighting type moves naturally. By the way, the game data also states that Dubwools mysteriously disappear whenever a Behemoth appears. So it makes sense it is now weak to Psychic. As for abilities, I believe a few could make sense, like Reckless, Sheer Force, or No Guard. Reckless boosts moves with recoil. Sheer Force boosts moves with secondary effects, but cancels the actual effects. And No Guard ensures every single move hits, regardless of accuracy, on both the opponent and the user. I can't choose. As for the stats, I think we should remove 40 from defense and special defense. Now we have plus 180 to give. I'm just gonna add everything to attack and speed. Let's do roughly 100 on speed and 80 on attack. I believe it's only below Regieleki, speed-wise. But of course it's only a form and requires the Megastone item. Also, its attack is still on par or below many other megas. It's kind of similar to Megalopunny, but they do different things. Nice. Gen 8 done. Now for 9. My pick for Paldea is yet another normal type. Didn't realize this video would be normal themed. The Pokemon I'm talking about isn't actually bad at all. It's a unique 2-stage mouse family with decent potential, nice abilities, and moves. However, it's still rarely used in today's meta. I'm talking about Mousehold. I think it could have a quirky and funny mega, and it would make it more viable in competitive. The theme of this Pokemon is a family of mice, which gets larger and larger as they work together. Its abilities are Friend Guard, Cheek Pouch, and Technician. The first and latter are very good and allows it to be ran as either support or damage dealer. Mousehold also has a physical signature move, Population Bomb, which consists of multiple small hits, and it can miss. However, it often holds an accuracy-enhancing item lots of the time to help. Its main stat is speed, which is good enough, but the other stats aren't too high. It's a physical attacker, with its special attack being not much lower, only 10 points. However, most of its good moves are physical, so we're going to focus on that aspect. Remember I mentioned earlier that megas are allegedly harmful, painful, or unnatural for the Pokémon. Well, the idea I have for Mega Mousehold is to have only one mouse. Maybe he lost his family, but it's bigger and absurdly buff like a gym bro, and fights for itself. As for stats, I take 20 away from special attack, so we have plus 120 to give. Let's do plus 100 on attack and plus 20 on speed. As for ability, if Population Bomb worked the same way as other multi-hit moves, like Icicle Spear, then I'd consider Skill Link. But correct me if I'm wrong, it wouldn't work. We also need to consider it will be holding a Mega Stone, so accuracy boosting items can't be ran on it, which means we need to cover his accuracy problems. Since many of its best moves have 90%, such as Population Bomb, Super Fang, and others. Compound Eyes sounds like the perfect fit, but obviously wouldn't make sense lore-wise. So let's just create a new ability the same as that but a different name. Maybe Perfect Focus? Maybe this would be OP, since Population Bomb will now always hit 10 times. You can still counter it with Ghost types or Rocky Helmets, but if I were Game Freak, I would manually test this Mega form in battles first. Just in case, let's think of more abilities. Huge power would fit the theme, but again, it would be OP. Man, we really need to be careful with this Pokemon. You know what? In Japanese, Population Bomb is called Mouse Cut, and it counts as a slicing move, which means it can be boosted by the Sharpness ability. I think that's more balanced, so let's give it that. Additionally, we could give it a few more slicing moves so it's not too reliant on its signature move. As for type, I'd say we keep it normal. Remember how I mentioned that the latest 3 generations didn't get any love for Megas? Well, actually there's another one that was hardly taken into consideration. It's the debut generation of Megas themselves, Gen 6. In fact, only one Colosian Pokemon has a Mega, Diancie. Not even the starters were given one. I'm sure this will finally change with Legends ZA, but in the meantime, why don't we come up with ideas ourselves? Kalos is the introductory region of the Fairy type, a direct nerf to dragons. And the only Colosian Mega, as I mentioned, is Diancie, which is part Fairy. I think we should design a Mega form for a Dragon type. Kalos has a few Draconic lines, such as Tyrantrum, Goodra, Dragalge, and Noivern. Out of the non-legendaries, Goodra already got some attention with its Hisui form. Tyrantrum is a fossil Pokemon, and it would be weird for it to have a Mega, especially if its counterpart, Aurorus, wasn't getting one too. Or, that's what I would say if Mega Aerodactyl didn't exist. Still, I think other candidates have more potential. Noivern is part flying, and I think would benefit from the Aerolate ability, since Boom Burst is one of its defining moves. But then it would be too similar to Mega Salamence. So that leaves us with the only remaining candidate, Dragalge. Dragalge is a Poison Dragon type, with Poison Touch, Poison Point, and Adaptability. As for its stats, it's a relatively bulky and slow special attacker, with its special defense being the highest stat. Lore-wise, it's an aquatic Pokemon based on kelp and sea dragons, animals related to seahorses. It preys on Finizen and is known to coexist with Dhelmise. It creates dragon energy by absorbing sunlight through the plume on its head. Additionally, its head is green in its shiny form. You can safely say its third type would be grass if it had one, other than water, of course. And while I'm tempted to go this route, I think we should save this grass form for a regional variant, since it doesn't even learn any grass move at the moment anyway. Plus, this Mega is meant to be a rival to Fairy types, so we should keep the Poison type. Let's keep it Poison Dragon. For the design itself, imagine it as a bulky tank with glowing bioluminescent cracks on its body, like one of those deep sea creatures. For the stats, we take out 20 from both attack and speed. So we have a total of 140 BST to give. Let's keep the current middle 3 stats hierarchy the same. So roughly plus 50 to defense, plus 50 to special attack, and plus 40 to special defense. As for ability, I'm undecided between 2. One being its current hidden ability, Adaptability, which boosts its stab moves for more raw power. Or Filter, which reduces the damage from super effective moves for a more tanky build like Mega Aggron. But yeah, that's it. This was fun. 2 fast megas and 2 slow ones. Perfectly balanced as all things should be. There's so many possibilities we could explore, but I think that's enough as an appetizer. If you want me to keep going and delve into more potential megas, or have some cool ideas yourself, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, then consider leaving a like and subscribe for more content like this. But that's all for me. See ya.